Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tom's Gadget Garage. Today I'm out here on the Segway GT3 Pro electric scooter and we're going to do a little bit of a range test. Now Segway does claim that the theoretical range on this scooter is up to 86 miles. Now keep in mind that is exactly what it sounds like, a theoretical figure, usually based on a rider cruising around in eco mode on completely flat ground in single motor mode with a 165-pound rider, minimum stop and go on a windless day and 75-degree Fahrenheit temperatures. Well folks, today I'm going to be cruising around in sport mode, which according to Segway in single motor mode should be able to get up to 45 miles of range, but once again we will be cruising in dual motor mode. Now in terms of my weight, I do weigh in at approximately 200 pounds and I've got about 10 pounds of gear with me, and so we'll see just how much range we can squeeze out of this scooter. Now if you're not familiar with the speed modes on this scooter, it does have Eco, Sport, and Race, and Sport does have a top speed of 31 miles an hour. Now in terms of the battery on board, it does come equipped with a 72 volt 30 amp hour battery, which is good for 2,160 watt hours of capacity. So compared to a lot of the other scooters I test on this channel, that's pretty massive. So I'll be interested to see. I think the best performing scooter that I've tested so far is the Apollo Phantom 2.0 Stellar Edition. We got just over 50 miles on that scooter. That's a long time to be riding around on a scooter. Now this path that we're going to be cruising around on today is approximately 70% paved surface and 30% hard packed dirt, so that's going to give us ample opportunity to test this scooter out on a variety of riding surfaces. And right now, riding on this hard packed dirt and gravel, this thing's doing a good job. You know, you can hardly feel any of the stuff that we're going over right now. And we can thank the suspension setup on this scooter. It's got hydraulic suspension both up front and in the rear, and it does give you the ability to adjust that suspension. So that's huge. You know, if you're looking for a nice, comfortable scooter to go cruising around on, this GT3 Pro definitely delivers. One of the things that I've called out and complained about in some of my previous videos is the twist throttle on this scooter. I thought that was quite a bizarre choice to put on this scooter, given that, you know, the Segway GT3 Pro, the 9bot Max G3, the E3 Pro, I mean, all those scooters have a thumb throttle. And for some reason, they chose a twist throttle on this scooter. Now, if you're riding a motorcycle or, you know, an e-moped and you're in a seated position holding on to that and you've got a twist throttle, okay, I get it. But with these scooters, you're standing up and you're twisting and you're, you know, trying to grip the handlebar. It's just weird. So I did install this kind of like 3D printed thumb throttle that I found on Amazon, and that's nice. But yeah, I don't know how well you're going to see it. There's not a lot of room on this handlebar, so it's not ideal. You know, I'll just say that. And right now my hand is already fatigued holding on to this thing. So, you know, we'll see how it feels later on during the ride. But if it's not comfortable, I'll take this thing off. You know, going 40 plus miles or whatever we're going to do today, holding on to this, I don't know how comfortable that's going to be, but we'll see. The tires on this scooter are 11-inch by 3-inch tires with a street tread, and they are self-sealing tires, so they can withstand punctures, I think up to 4 millimeters, something like that. Right up ahead, we are going to have a pedestrian bridge to go up and over. It's about 8.5% grade. Now, I've done multiple hill climb tests on this scooter, including my extreme hill climb test up a 23% grade, as well as my endurance hill climb up 17 miles of windy mountain road. So if you haven't checked those out, I will link those in the description below. But this 8.5% grade should be a cakewalk, but we'll test it out right now. Of course, we are still in sport mode, and I mean, we're flying up this thing. Throttle is barely pushed in, you know. This scooter has a tremendous amount of power. So no concerns there. Now that we're up and over, we'll have a good opportunity to test out the brakes. This scooter does come equipped with hydraulic brakes as well as 140 millimeter discs, both up front and in the rear. It's also got regenerative braking in both the electric motors. And so regen, I think we have it on weak, or I think it's weak or maybe standard, but right now it's doing a great job of allowing us to control our descent. So that's really nice. I don't even have to use the regular brakes. Now, if you're not familiar with Segway scooters, they are probably, hands down, the most technology-packed scooters on the market today, at least at a, you know, mass-produced consumer level. I mean, these things have all the bells and whistles, including ABS brakes. It's electronic ABS braking built into this scooter, and so in extreme braking situations, it will literally pump the brakes for you. Yeah, that's insane. It's also got traction control to, help ensure that in slippery conditions, the scooter does as best as possible to maintain that traction. Right now we're cruising around at about 25 miles an hour, and this is a super stable ride. A scooter like this is able to maintain a higher clip much easier than a scooter, let's say, for example, with a top speed of 25 or 30 miles an hour. Maintaining this kind of speed is nothing for this scooter. They do say this scooter will get upwards of 50 miles an hour, which I'm going to be honest with you, that's absolutely insane speed for riding around on a stand-up platform. I'm just going to be honest with you. I have absolutely zero interest in riding at speeds that fast. Like, it's just not even something that piques my interest. It goes above and beyond my level of risk tolerance. But for all those folks that like to cruise around at 40, 50, 60 miles an hour, all the power to them. It's fun to watch. But in reality, at those speeds, taking a fall will be nothing short of catastrophic. And so for those reasons, I typically cruise around, on my typical commuter scooters, anywhere from 18 to 25 miles an hour on these higher performance scooters. Where appropriate, I'll cruise around at, between 25 and 30 miles an hour. That's plenty sufficient for me. One of the cool things about this scooter is that it does come equipped with both a bell, which you can hear here, as well as a horn. Listen to this thing. Pretty loud. It comes with both, and so that's going to be appropriate for getting the attention of pedestrians, but also if you're going to be riding around in traffic, you can get the attention of other, cars and stuff on the road. So hats off to Segway for equipping it with both. Now, for all of you keeping track, we officially crossed the 10-mile mark. We've been riding around for about 44 minutes at this point, so making good progress. On the screen it says we've got 83% battery remaining, which reminds me, anytime I do these range tests, I'll usually mark my turnaround point right at around 60-65%, which according to my battery chart should be around 75 to 76 volts. So once we drop down to those levels, I will mark that as the turnaround point. And the reason why I use 60-65% as that marker for turning around is because with all of these, PEVs, the first half of the battery is always going to be more performant than the second half of the battery. So as you wear that battery down, voltage goes down, power output, top speed, acceleration go down. And so when those things happen, you're going to get less output from the scooter, and you're going to get less mileage out of that bottom half. And so by marking your turnaround point right around 60-65%, you ensure that, all else being equal, you're able to make it back to your starting point. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull into here. We'll take a little bit of a break. And here's a closer look at that thumb throttle that I have set up on here. And so as you can see, it just bolts onto there, basically clamps onto there. And it's really nice. It does take some getting used to. My hands are a little bit fatigued, but not as much as I thought they would be at the beginning of this ride. But anyways, I think if there was a little more room on this handlebar, like an extension, maybe an inch or so, that would make this a lot more comfortable, because right now when using this, I've got like 2 fingers hanging off the handlebars. So that's just something to keep in mind. Or you can just bite the bullet and just get used to the twist throttle. I test a lot of scooters on this channel, and pretty much all of them have a thumb throttle or a trigger throttle, and so that's what I'm used to. And so I know I complain a lot about the twist throttle. I'm sure many folks are used to that at this point, but I would love to see Segway offer a thumb throttle option in the future. But as you can see, very good looking scooter. I think they did a fantastic job with this thing, and I will say this thing is more vehicle than scooter. It basically takes the scooter riding experience to a completely different level. But anyways, I'll hop back on this scooter and we'll continue on our journey. Something that I think is important to call out is that this scooter does have park mode, which means that after you stop and the scooter is idle for more than a few seconds, it will automatically go into park mode, which basically means the throttle is disabled. Now you can get out of park mode by either, kicking to start or pulling on the brake lever. And so maybe up ahead I'll kind of demonstrate how that works. On some scooters, park mode I think is more of a safety risk than, a benefit. But we'll see. Let's pull over here to the side, slow down, and it should go into park mode any moment now. There we go, park mode enabled. I'm pushing on the throttle and it says to press the brake to unlock. So I pull on the brake, it gets out of park mode, and now that throttle is active. Let's see if kick to start deactivates it. Okay, park mode, kick to start also deactivates it, which is nice. There are a lot of scooters where kick to start does not deactivate it, and you end up looking like a damn fool in the intersection when you're trying to go on your scooter and you can't, So I'm glad they allow for kick to start to deactivate that. That's huge. But regardless, I think it should be up to the rider as to whether or not that feature is enabled. And so it'd be really nice in future updates if they pushed out an option to customize the park mode experience, or at least give us the option to enable or disable it. With these range tests, I think it's important to note that, I keep the route that I go on the same. I try and keep as much the same as possible. But with these higher performance scooters, what I typically do is I just throw the scooter into the middle driving mode and I go, and that's what I do my range test in. And keep in mind that different scooters have different speeds associated with different riding modes. They have different acceleration curves, different amounts of torque. Like, there's a lot of variables that I'll never be able to control completely. The reason why I mention that is I took another scooter out here, the Apollo Phantom 2.0 Stellar, which is probably this scooter's biggest competitor. And on that particular scooter, I got over 50 miles of range. But it's important to note that middle driving mode, speed mode 2, is capped at 22 miles an hour, something like that, and with this scooter, it's capped at 31. Now, a bike path like this, a multi-use path where you have people biking and walking, like, it would be irresponsible of me to be riding around at 31 miles an hour, and so I'm really not going to be doing that today. But I'm probably going to be maintaining a higher clip than I would on that Phantom Stellar, and so that's important to factor in. It's never going to be a perfect apples to apples comparison. All right, we've got a little bit of a running event out here today. That should be interesting. Hopefully we get through this range test before everybody starts running on these paths. All right, we'll go ahead and turn into this park area here. There's a little bridge crossing in this place that's got some cobblestone. It'll give us a good opportunity to test out the suspension. On most scooters it feels awful going over that cobblestone. I don't recommend using scooters on cobblestone, but anyways, it might come across your path at some point, so it's good to know how it would do. Stay away from the edge of the water here. I don't want to inadvertently test out the IP rating on this scooter, but if you are curious, it is IPX6, so it can withstand powerful water jets and protect against water ingress. All right, here's our cobblestone, folks. Not too bad. So that was actually really nice. Probably among the best, if not the best, performance going over that cobblestone. That was comfortable. And like I said, this is a big, heavy scooter, got a nice, robust suspension, big tires, and so something like that isn't as jarring of an experience as it would be on a smaller commuter scooter. And so that's really one of the major benefits of a big scooter like this. You don't have to go some crazy 50 miles an hour. For me, it's not about speed, it's about the riding experience and being able to tackle pretty much anything that I come across. And with a scooter like this, you can absolutely do those things. All right, so we're gonna cruise around here for a bit. What I like about this area is the fact that it's got these huge bike lanes. I wish these lanes were like this everywhere. That would be awesome. But, you know, this could almost be a lane for a car, you know. It's that wide. But yeah, it goes for a little bit, then we'll get turned around and see where we're at mileage-wise. You know, right now on the screen it says 75% battery remaining, and we are just past the 17-mile mark at this point. One thing you want to watch out for when passing parked cars like this is opening doors or people walking or running between cars. Always got to keep your head on a swivel. And you know, when you need the power, this scooter definitely has it. You can definitely pick up speed quickly. You know, I don't think I mentioned it yet in this video, but this scooter's got dual 1700 nominal watt motors, each of which can crank out 3,500 watts of peak power. So folks, that's 7,000 watts of peak power, which is just absolutely insane to me. That's more power for pretty much anything you'll ever come across on a scooter. All right, I'm gonna pull over here and see how we're doing. So on screen, it says we've got 72% battery remaining. Voltage in the app is sitting at 79.4 volts. And when I go into my voltage chart here, 79 volts, it's about 80% battery remaining. So I mean, we're still doing really, really well. And that's with us sitting at right around 19 miles. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop back on this scooter and we'll continue on our journey. I don't know how long this ride is gonna go today. All right, folks, I'm gonna go ahead and turn around here. Like, we're nowhere near our turnaround point, but we'll take some detours today to bleed off this battery. But you know, 20 miles at this point, like that's insane. We still got, looks like 70% battery remaining. All right, well, it looks like we got a little more riding off the beaten path because that running event I was talking about earlier looks like it got started. So the path is full of folks getting in some exercise. So we'll just stay on this kind of crazy path that I'm on right now. I mean, this is like all pitted and eroded away. But we've got this full suspension to help kind of get us through this. And there we go, back to riding on a nice smooth riding surface again. That's where this scooter excels. As you can see, we're cruising around at a higher clip right now, about 26 miles an hour. And this is smooth as butter, folks. Quick little comfort check in here. My feet, legs, and back feel fantastic. My right wrist, though, is a little bit sore. Nothing too crazy, but it probably has something to do with how I'm gripping this right grip with the thumb throttle setup. All right, folks, so for all of you keeping track, we officially crossed the 30-mile mark. We've been riding around for about an hour and 56 minutes at this point. And we're taking a little bit of a detour since, according to the scooter, we still got 52% battery remaining, which is absolutely insane. So it's definitely going to be a long ride for us today. You know, since we're doing excellent on mileage, we'll just continue driving around this old historic part of Gilbert, Arizona. We've got a water tower up ahead. I don't know if you can see that. That's the famous Gilbert water tower. Used to supply the water to the town when it was a fraction of what it was in the past, population-wise. There it is. Oh, you could definitely smell the food. There's a ton of restaurants. We've got some kind of like a festival thing back there going on with some food. There's another view of the Gilbert water tower. They just renovated this place. They got a splash pad and all kinds of stuff out here. And here we've got more hard-packed dirt and gravel. We're cruising around at about 21, 22 miles an hour. And no concerns. Gripping this stuff very well. All right, folks, for all of you keeping track, we just crossed the 35-mile mark. We've been cruising around, let's see, for about 2 hours, 15 minutes. And it says we got 42% battery remaining. So I still got a little ways to go. One thing I don't want to forget to demonstrate is cruise control on this scooter. So there's no kind of like weird activation steps or holding the throttle at a certain speed. No, none of that. All you got to do is push the cruise control button. Now it is a little bit of a reach. You got to inch your fingers across while you're riding, which is a little bit bizarre. But you push the cruise control button, let go of the throttle, and look at that, folks. we're cruising. It's cruise control on demand. There is no guesswork. It is a single button press to activate cruise control. Every single scooter out there should have that as an option. You know, you shouldn't have to jump through all these hoops to enable cruise control. So kudos to Segway for putting that on there. If you want to cancel cruise control out, all you got to do is, you know, you can hit the throttle or pull the brakes, and that'll turn the feature off for you. You know, the canal system here in the Phoenix metro area just goes on forever. I think there's like hundreds of miles of canals throughout the valley, so you can hop on one of these paths and get from one side of the Phoenix metro area to the other. We just crossed the 40-mile mark, by the way. We've been riding around for about 2 hours, 36 minutes at this point. And it says we got 34% battery remaining, so still making really good progress. We'll probably hit 55 if this range estimate on the display is correct. It says we still got 15 miles to go. So anyways, if we do, you know, that'll be the longest range I've ever gotten on any scooter that I've tested on this channel. Right now it's the Apollo Phantom 2.0 Stellar Edition that holds that title. All right, folks, a quick little update here. We officially crossed the 45-mile mark. We've been riding around for 2 hours, 52 minutes. Scooter says we got 24% battery remaining and about 11 miles in estimated range in the tank. So once again, making very good progress. My only complaint right now is that my hands and wrists are extremely sore. I mean, this is a long time to be riding around in a straight shot on a scooter. Anyways, I'm just glad we're near the end of this ride. All right, just so you're aware, now that we're at, you know, less than 20% battery remaining, I have the throttle all the way in, and it looks like we're able to maintain about 27 miles an hour. You can definitely feel it's taking a little bit longer to get up to speed, but I mean, I'll tell you, this scooter's still very punchy, even with, you know, 18% battery remaining. You know, it's funny, you know, to the left here, I always thought this was like some recreation center or something. No, that's literally somebody's house. Oh, I don't even know what I would do with that much space. So I got an exciting update for y'all. We have officially crossed the 50-mile mark on this Segway GT3 Pro. It says we got 15% battery remaining. We've been riding around for 3 hours and 8 minutes. And it says we got 6.7 miles remaining in the tank. Looks like today we're definitely going to exceed the range we got on the Apollo Phantom 2.0 Stellar Edition. There's really no other scooter. I mean, the best performing PEV I've ever tested is the electric X-Peak 2.0 long range all-terrain e-bike. I got 55 miles on that bad boy. Will we be able to exceed that on a scooter today? I don't know. If we can, that'll be pretty exciting. Something to note is that now that we're at 10% or just below 10% battery remaining, it is capping our speed at 21 miles an hour. And so it's probably that Seg Ridey Long technology or whatever. You know, they slowly reduce the maximum power output. It's not only a function of the battery losing voltage, but also what Segway does with a lot of their scooters is that they gradually reduce that top speed in order to maximize range. Other scooters will allow you to maintain a higher clip for longer, but at the expense of range. And so just depends on, you know, the kind of behavior that you're looking for out of your scooter. So with this, over time, it'll draw down that power. Something that I think is important to call out is the fact that the speedometer on this scooter, as well as the range that it tracks, are 100% in lockstep with my GPS. And so that's really nice to see, because most scooters, most e-bikes, they're completely inaccurate. You know, my wrists are so sore right now. Going over these dips in the road here is torture. It's like you have your hands in the same position, they're not moving. And I feel like it would be nice to have some ergonomic grips on this scooter. You know, I think that was a miss. You know, if you're gonna be going on longer rides, ergonomic grips go a long way. These are just kind of round, very minimal padding on them. Shorter rides shouldn't be an issue, but longer rides like this, yeah, this is torture. All right, speed is lowering right now. We're at 5% battery remaining. We're capped at 19 miles an hour. One thing I like about this scooter is the nice rounded profile to the tires really allow you to lean into these turns, which makes it fun. I did take this up that endurance hill climb that's up and down 17 miles of windy mountain roads, and this did a fantastic job, especially coming into the curves in the road. All right, so throttle's all the way in. We're at 3% battery remaining, and as you can see, things are pretty slow, but it is electronically limiting our speed. I feel like the scooter can go faster, but it's limiting us to about 17 miles an hour right now. So we'll go loop around here, and then I will catch you at the end of the ride, and I'll download all the stats and we'll see how we did. All right, folks, so there you have it. That was our range test with the Segway GT3 Pro. On today's ride, 56.03 miles. We had an average moving speed of 17 miles an hour. We hit a top speed of 30.9 miles an hour. Elevation gain 1,339 feet, and we were riding around for 3 hours, 31 minutes today. So overall, very impressive results out of this GT3 Pro. I will say it is a very smooth operating machine, and the suspension on this scooter goes a long way in ensuring that long rides like this are as comfortable as possible. Now, I do have to say that my hands are quite sore from, riding around on a scooter for this long. But other than that, my feet, my legs, my back feel fantastic. Anyways, if you didn't catch some of my other videos on this scooter, I will include links to the endurance hill climb as well as the extreme hill climb test in the description below. And if you do want to pick up one of these scooters, I will include an affiliate link both to Amazon and to Segway. And if you use that to make your purchase, it absolutely helps support this channel and keeps the wheels moving on future reviews. As always, thank you so much for tuning into Tom's Gadget Garage. We'll see you next time.